one of the interesting questions is, what I've talked about is power and the paradox, the unsuccessful qualities of Machiavellianism and ruthless violence in organizations and families. And there are a lot of data that suggests these principles of empathy and gratitude and kindness and work at the the dyadic level between romantic partners. So, one of the questions is how do we take these principles that work at organizations and then apply them to the international scene with nations and states and terrorist entities and the like. And I think we're learning really interesting things that are germane. So one that really struck me, that I saw as a challenge to the Machiavellian view of power at the international level, is historians have rated the success of protest movements, right? When you're a small entity like ISIS and you want to challenge power, and what they find is ruthless, violent strategies do not work, right? And rather, more collaborative, nonviolent, consensus-building strategies are successful. So what that tells us historically, and this is an analysis of, I think, over 500 kind of internation or political struggles, is ISIS is not going to work, right? Just on that basis alone, because people look at it and they go, sexual slaves, you're beheading people, you're torturing people, you're doing this. No one will align with that as a broader demonstration of power or something. And then I think the other place where this is really, the principles we've been talking about really matter. And in fact, there's a complementary conversation going on right now with people like Joseph Nye at Harvard. And you start hearing this concept of soft power, right? And that is juxtaposed to the older models of power, of hard power, of you go in and you blow things up and you get boots on the ground. And right now, I think we're seeing this shift in foreign policy to soft power, which is you have more enduring power when you don't just strike out, when you don't just kill, and you instead build consensus, spread ideas, build norms, build institutions. And that aligns with some of the stuff we've been talking about. You're only as good in terms of the respect and the strength of your social network, right? Shock and awe, which caused this mess, most people believe, was a demonstration of pure hard power with no consensus and no collaboration, and it failed, right? And so diplomacy is moving more toward, how many countries can you align? Are there democratic ways to build up support around this? Are there softer ways we can influence through building schools or institutions? And that's where the enduring power will lie.
And actually, you see it on the global scene as what happens as a reaction to that is compassion.
Yeah.
So everyone
exactly.
stand with Paris, or what happened with 9/11. So you see linking of arms virtually.
I always think about this evolutionarily, and it's so interesting. You think about the raw politics of the small groups in which we survived, right? And this is for hundreds of thousands of years. We lived in these small tribes of 100 people or so, right? Collaborating and cooperating, and facing violent raids against tribes nearby. Mainly raids that were targeting Machiavellians in our group, by the way, which is interesting. And most of the violence of the olden times was directed at Machiavellian types. So we live in these small groups, and anthropologists were lucky enough to study 48 of those societies and find out who led those groups. And it lends credence to this new model of power I've been talking about, which is they were fair, generous, kind, impartial, open to other people, respected, really connected, right? But also they were courageous and knew how to fight the fight at the right moment. And I think that's true today, which is you go with the soft forms of power And then if you cross your lines, you go after it, right? And that's the debate I think that's happening today, that we have moved more towards softer power, just moving away from indiscriminate interventions. And then if they cross lines, we have to take action.